Welcome back to the Tennessee Valley Voice. Along with Abe and Nancy Harris, we have David with us, David Libhart. And by the way, his painting was chosen over 169 schools, elementary schools, throughout the whole Tennessee Valley area. And there were only a few from each school, and in those schools, well, there were quite a number of submissions, and then some of them were chosen to go to the Museum of Art here in Huntsville, and his was the one chosen for the newspaper article. And we want to again say congratulations, glad you're working on your artwork. We're talking about how to encourage youth to read and write, and to respect their parents and family members, and to learn the American values of golden rule and serving others. And tell me about this young lady you have with you, Nancy.
This is Katrina, the Black Forest doll. Abe 1 year ran the Munich Marathon, and we decided to go to a flea market in Munich, and she was on the ground in the dirt next to this German woman, and you could see she was in the tools and she was filthy, and I noticed her beautiful dress, and I asked the lady, wie viel kostet das? How much does that cost? And the lady just nonchalantly said, oh, 11 Mark, which cost 11 marks, which was about $7 at the time. And I grabbed her. She was so dirty, and I picked her up, and I knew she was my baby doll. I took her home and I washed her, and now she's one of my prized dolls. I have a collection of dolls, but this little girl here, I bought at a flea market, is my prized possession, and she's in most of my paintings. And we've incorporated her character in our book. She's will be the abandoned child. You know, someone who is beautiful and talented, but for some reason or another has been abandoned. And a couple finds her and takes her and brings her into their home. Now, in one of the paintings, she's sitting on Abe's American Flyer, his childhood toy, and she's happy. She has a wonderful home in America with an American couple. And so, like I said, she'll be one of the main characters in another book.
We have found out Katrina is all hand done. She's a cloth doll with a hand painted porcelain face, and we learned last year at an art show in Marietta, Georgia, that she's actually 90 years old and predates the fall of the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, which means that she existed before World War I, which was a long time ago. And she, in our third book, will be an adopted child and will live in a home where she's not being brought up by her original parents, but nevertheless is brought up by someone who truly loves her. And our idea is to have Chester and Katrina meet, and then they'll go on a whole series of adventures with some of the toys that you see here, and many of the dolls and toys that we have in our home and Nancy has in her collection.
What kinds of adventures would you like to hear, David, or what kinds of adventures are they going on? Give me an idea.
Well, we have 3 little horses that you see there. 2 of them you see here. And one of the adventures that Katrina and Chester will go on will be an adventure with these 3 horses, where each horse wishes it was like the other horse. And so one of these horses has a little boy on his back, and the other horse does not. And the horse that doesn't have the little boy wishes he had a little boy, and so therefore doesn't really like himself. And Katrina and Chester help each horse appreciate who they are and what they do and what they represent. And Katrina and Chester will teach boys and girls that it's important to learn how to read. For instance, a simple thing like knowing what the word stop means can be very important when you're crossing a busy street.
How does Chester teach how to stop?
Well, we're having, right now, Chester are these dolls, but I'm having a large hand puppet made. And Chester and I will do a series of puppet shows. And in that, we'll illustrate what happens to someone when they don't know how to read. And for instance, in crossing the street, they could get run over. And in then learning how to read, you know not to do things that are unsafe.
Mm-hmm. And David, you have a little sister that probably couldn't, well, of course Heather couldn't read, but Ashley will soon be 5, and does she know, can she read the stop signs, or do you still have to show her?
I still have to show her.
You have to show her. And how did, do you think that'll be a good idea for all kids to learn how to stop, look, and listen before they cross the street?
Yes.
See, and David just illustrated one of the things that we'd like to teach through our art and our books and our puppet shows is by David taking care of his little sister, he's being responsible, he's being helpful, he's being kind. And those were some of the values I was raised with through Boy Scouts and through church and some other organizations. And so that, I mean, that's a good point. That's exactly what we're trying to teach through Chester and Katrina.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to see the paintings, some of the paintings that we have with us. I'm really sorry we didn't bring David's, but maybe people can go down to the museum here in Huntsville and see all of the wonderful paintings that all the youth did that were chosen from their individual schools. And I want to see the paintings that you have here, and we're going to get to see those. Well, let's start and see one of them now.
I've got Chester's painting right here.
Okay, all right.
Swear, you want to talk about this? This is in the first book, and it's a scene that takes place in Nuremberg.
When I painted this painting, Abe was in Saudi, and so I spent most of my time painting when I wasn't at work. And basically, Chester the Jester was bought. He's a cloth doll. I bought him in Germany, in Nuremberg, Germany. Hans, the wooden soldier, is in front of him, and he's made of wood. Chester's made of cloth. Dinky the Clown is a porcelain doll that I had bought in a mall in the United States. And then we have the wooden horse. But all of the dolls are made with different materials, cloth, wood, and porcelain. And yet, they've all come together in this home. They've all become best friends, even though they're made of different shapes, different sizes, different colors. You know, they don't look alike, but they've been able to come together as unusually best friends. And that's the moral.
Wonderful.
And basically, the storyline is underneath the painting.
We'll be back in just a moment with Tennessee Valley Voice to learn more about the respect that we can learn through books and paintings. Welcome back to the Tennessee Valley Voice. I'm Bonnie along with David and Abe and Nancy, and we're talking about the paintings and the toys from all over the world, and also a special message about people that look different, act different, different sizes and shapes, yet they love each other and they live in the same family. Let's learn a little bit more about some of the paintings. Nancy, you as the artist and illustrator, tell us about that one.
Well, I'll let Abe talk about Katrina. You've already met her as the doll.
Uh-huh.
This is Katrina the Black Forest Bavarian doll, and we purchased her in Munich, Germany, as we told you earlier. She will be our third book, and in this book we will deal with the issue of what it's like to be a child in today's world who may not be being raised by their mother and father. There are a lot of children that are raised by grandmothers or by single parents, and we're going to address that issue with the key to the story being that even though your mom or your dad may not be present with you all the time, you are still loved, and you still have value, and you still have a special purpose. Mm-hmm. And what this illustration, this print represents is Katrina is riding my American Flyer train, which is about 43 years old. And she's coming to America with Abe and Nancy, who have adopted her and given her a home. And before, she didn't have a whole lot of hope and wasn't joyful there, David. I'm sorry you couldn't see that.
Go ahead.
I'm glad you like it. And then the other toys that you see here will be toys that we'll give names and characters to, and they will appear in our books.
Great. Do you happen to have another one with you?
We've got a couple more.
Okay. Let's see those. And here's
this is
the
an
story.
original that Nancy recently painted. And why don't you talk about it, sweetie?
This is Katrina, and we inherited several things from Abe's grandmother. The quilt that Katrina is sitting on is Abe's great-great-grandmother's quilt. And his grandmother is, what, 92?
92.
So it's her great-great-grandmother's quilt.
It probably goes back to the Civil War
At least.
time.
And Katrina's so colorful that I've incorporated her in most of my paintings, and this happens to be an original one. We have another one here. This one is Katrina on an antique maple hutch. The china behind it is something we also inherited. Abe inherited from his great aunt Ola, and so the painting is Katrina and great aunt Ola's china. It's old English, old Johnson Brothers English china, and this is also an original painting that's for sale.
Well, it's a little bit like the hint of the Blue Willow, which was really more of a copy of some of the English, which now I see just one of those that probably cost a nickel or a quarter. Now I see them for $40 a plate. But this has some heritage in it and some history that everyone can learn and appreciate. And I think the kids love it.
Well,
I see David's looking.
They're colorful, and I hope you appreciated it as a fellow artist, David. I use a lot of color. I try to use vibrant colors for my paintings.
David, maybe you could read what it says there. Do you think that you can read it? You may have to get around. I'm going to hold it straight up if I can, and we'll see whether the painting's there. Go ahead and read what it says.
Hi, my name is Chester the Jester. I come from Nuremberg, Germany. These folks sitting next to me are my best friends. Dinky the Clown is made of expensive porcelain. He comes from the United States. Hans is a hand-painted wooden soldier from the world famous Nuremberg Christmas market. His handmade wooden horse is from Poland. Although Dinky and Hans are porcelain and wood, and I am made of cloth, we love each other just the same. We may be different colors, shapes, and sizes in different parts of the world, yet we are unusual best friends.
That was great.
Yes.
Good.
So that's the whole idea, is that all of us could be a different color.
Yes.
We can be different shapes, different sizes, and yet we make up families in real families that are together in maybe one household, but also the community.
Yes.
We're made up of all different colors and shapes.
In our own home, we're an interracial couple, and I'm 5'2" and Abe is 6'3", so we're definitely different color and different shapes and sizes.
Well, I think that sometimes you're going to even have an exchange student that comes over here that we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
It's going to be living in your home, so that'll be a different nationality that will be coming and living with you. And that's the exciting part about what you're doing in your work through Children's Eyes and S. Harry Enterprises.
Well, I want to get back to David's reading.
Okay.
David's 8 years old, and he just got exposed to some really big words like porcelain and Nuremberg and Poland. And he did very well. And that sort of illustrates the point. America is a great nation. And I'm convinced that the future of our nation rests with our being able to educate our children and teach them real sound values that we need to care for each other. And so I thank you for reading that.
And thanks to all of you, Abe and Nancy Harris, and S. Harry Enterprises and Through Children's Eyes, and David Libhart, again, congratulations on being chosen of all the elementary schools, 169 of them in the whole area, Tennessee Valley area, to have yours in the paper. And we want to encourage each one of you, when you hear of paintings and toys and maybe at the Parkway City Mall, these will be shown, why, by all means, come out and see them. I'm Bonnie Libhart, and along with David Libhart, Abe, and Nancy Harris, you are watching the Tennessee Valley Voice, and bless your heart for watching.